Today's guest is James Madison, who is a CEO, speaker, trainer, and coach at On Purpose Life LLC. He helps successful and purpose-driven senior leaders leave burnout and overwhelm, leave those behind to lead winning teams in the achievement of extraordinary results. James is passionate about inspiring, igniting growth in others so they experience the freedom to create their wildest dreams. So, James, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. It's funny as I was listening to that intro, the simpler version of that is help successful people get clear on what they want and get out of their way. Like I've really boiled it down, and that's a lot of the stuff. But as I've really been doing coaching lately, it's just getting clear, and then as we all get in our way from and limit ourselves, just get out of the way and allow things to take place that should.
Yeah, and I think it's also very poignant. It's like get clear on what they want because a lot of the time, so much suffering happens because like we think we know what we want, but oftentimes like it's easier to define what we don't want, or sometimes we don't take ownership of what we want. At least that's what I find even like in my own coaching. So I love the fact that you bring that part into it because I think it's so often overlooked, yet
Yes.
it's such a critical piece to like move people towards a destination. So anything you want to add to that, I mean, floor is yours.
Yeah, the other thing is this distinction between need versus want. A lot of people talk about what they need to, should do, must do, have to do. That doesn't come from a powerful place, right? So this idea of asking, defining what I want, and then the get out of the way is the stories. We all have stories, right?
Mhm.
That limit potential because of a story and challenging those stories, breaking through those stories. My coach did that with me this morning. I do that with people, and that's really to help them see, oh, is that really true? No, it's not. What do you want it to be? You mean I have permission to create? That's the big thing, permission. You're smiling. It's all about we all seek permission. I don't care what level, what role, it's permission to just create these things. And that's the fun part for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree. Like it's, I mean, sitting on this and it's cool to talk with another coach. And so I'm always a fan of like when coaches do this because I'm also a big fan that like all coaches should have coaches as well. But it's true. It's like when you hold up the mirror and you hold it up in that way, oftentimes the permission you're giving is like self-permission. Like here is the mirror to really allow you to just give yourself the permission, which is the only permission you technically need. But because
Yeah.
it's been so beaten into you that you need it from an external source, um, the most facilitating thing we can do is just actually offer the mirror and be like, no, look, like here, you actually have it.
Yeah.
So again, anything you want to comment to that?
That's probably the biggest aha. That's the golden thread of everybody I work with is when I say, hey, what if you did that, what would you have that you don't have today? And they say something, and I said, you have permission to do that. And it just becomes this mind-blowing, like, what? I can go and there's this artificial, it's so funny when they respond that way. And then they get out of their way, then they go create, the next level of things that they're out to create in this world.
Absolutely. Well, it's obvious right off the bat that we could just do like a whole podcast episode of just jamming back
Just
and forth
that.
between these. So we might do
Yep.
a follow up like with just that. I'm open to that.
Sure.
But yeah, I want to make sure that I'm supporting you in this one because obviously you're in a supportive role all the time with your clients.
Right.
So I know before we got on air and kind of like the preamble to this episode, one of the stories that was coming up for you was around, okay, well, I've been growing my business very well for the last, X number of years. And I'm getting to this point where it's like I'm fearing how easy it's actually getting. Okay. So that's kind of what I read from the stuff that you submitted to me. So tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me what you want to dive into with that. And we
Yeah,
can.
I've been creating this business for the last 3 years. Had a coach, been in different programs I'm in, kind of doing all the things. My company's called On Purpose Life, and one of the things I say is when you live your life in purpose, on purpose, you never work another day in your life. Say that all the time, right? And it's more flow than hustle because when you're in your purpose, all the things that are meant for you, you recognize them, they show up, you attract them, right? It's this more effortless type of creation. I say that all day long. After 3 years, my business has tripled 2 years in a row. And I've made the most money when I've worked the least. I've had the best success when I didn't even know that it was there. Like all the counterintuitive things I teach, I'm now starting to experience. So I believed them here. I'm actually starting to have experience of them in my heart because I'm seeing them show up. So then the head trash, as you call it, is I'm doing less and more is happening. I know I need to slow down to speed up. I know less is more, but it's actually working. And then fighting off that old muscle memory of, yeah, but if you just do a little bit more of this, that, the other, even that would. Like that's where the tension or that edge is for me right now.
Got it. Okay. So I think the first place I would start, because you're a coach yourself, and clearly this is not your first rodeo. Like if you were coaching yourself, what would you coach yourself on?
Yeah, I would if I was coaching myself, I'd say, I want you, what would the future successful version of James tell you right now? The
Mhm.
version of you that's already done it, continues to experience success, is in the future, is on the other side of everything you're creating. What would he tell you now? And if I think about that, he would tell me, trust the process, trust that by centering and grounding in your purpose, all the things you need will show up when you need them. Whatever is for you cannot miss you. So you don't need to chase after. Keep continue doing, being open to opportunities, connecting with people, double down on your superpowers, just continue doing those things. And here's the biggest one: resist the urge to compare to what others are doing, because you're comparing their progress, their success to your progress, not progress to progress, right? So you're in that creation mode. They've already succeeded in certain things, and you're doing that comparison that will always distract you. Like literally filter that out. Enjoy the joy of missing out on all those things that you read about, see about, hear about, and just continue to be true to yourself. That's what the future version would tell me today.
Got it. All sounds great. All makes sense. What's the
Yep.
resistance that comes up for you when you hear it?
Yeah, I think the resistance is it makes sense logically. It's
Yes.
what I teach, it's what I coach, it's what I've seen people experience. But I have enough muscle memory of the old, the hustle, the grind, the grit, the stress, the right, that that's not fully out of my system. So it's like something comes up in me and says, "Yeah, but maybe I've never been in the place where it's been so effortless and it actually works." And it's like this really uncomfortable place that the results are greater, I have less stress, more peace because I've never been here. It feels like I need to do more in order to keep it going. That's that little tension that's coming up. Like it can't just sustain this way. Like doing the triage to get here was one thing that took work to do, but now that it's more effortless and the more I take hands off, the better it works. Yeah, but can I continue that? Is that going to continue? Or, that's the just working it out of the system, that kind of the old story.
Got it. Where do you feel that in your body?
I feel it like right in my gut. Like that's where I feel that look like almost like a knot sometimes when I'm thinking about 2024 and I look at my business growing this year and I don't know exactly where the business is going to come from. A year ago, I had no idea that I'd have the business that I have today, right? So I didn't have this planned out. It was more connecting with people, being open to opportunities, knowing that things would show up when I need them. But again, I can't map that out for the whole year, right? There's that little bit of like uncomfortable feeling like I can't see it. So therefore, wanting to create more certainty and have less faith, right? Certainty, the opposite of faith. Faith that if I keep doing and trusting it'll work, versus let me be able to show on paper that I have a plan that can do it. That's that tension that I'm working through in this process as I go into the new year.
So intention is between like I need a plan versus I don't, even though I've seen evidence that the other way works for me, I don't trust it because that there's no plan there.
Not 100% trust. Like I'm probably 50% there because it's working. Things came up this week that I wasn't planning on that are going to set up next year, but I don't know where the next one's coming from. So it's like not needing to have that planned or intent, but just knowing, like, continuing to doing what I'm doing and trusting it will continue, and just fully rest and believe in that, versus there's still a little bit of that tension like, yeah, but maybe I need to, because again, in all the groups I'm in, all the other coaches are doing the things. I got to do this. I got to, and so some of that is also feeding into it because it's that comparison thing. Well, this person wrote a book and this person's got this program. Well, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. Like considering things that may not work for me and really stick to what I'm doing.
Got it. Okay. So if you tune back into that part of you, like that's in your gut, like you said, like it's like the 50-50 kind of seems to live there.
Yeah.
If you tune into it right now, Like if that gut part of you could talk, what might it say?
Just relax, man. I got this. I'm leading you. I'm your compass. Like, look what we've done so far. Don't look forward. Just continue to stay focused on me, and I will lead you. Everything you do, you'll be led in doing. So just chill out. Get out of your head and let me lead you.
Okay, perfect. And then is there another part of you that upon hearing that jumps in and resists that?
There's a part of me that loves that. Like, oh my God, that sounds great. And there's a
Yep.
part of me that goes, yeah, but
So that, yeah, but where do you feel that part in your body?
um, yeah, but probably comes that. I mean, I know where it comes from is more in my head. Like I feel the head kind of kicking in and starting to get into the thoughts on, is that going to be sustainable? Is that really going to be what happens? Is that really
So is that
possible?
like if you could give it kind of like a point in your body, like is it just like your head overall? It just feels like it's inside of your mind, or it feels like something else? Like where in your system would you say that part lives?
Yeah, it's in my mind. It's 100% in my mind. It's where the mind kicks in versus being kind of led by the heart, the intuition, which is that other piece that's calming. Then the head kicks in with some stories. Again, that's where the stories live in my
Got it.
mind.
Okay, perfect. So if you could tune into that part, like the yeah, but part,
Yeah.
okay, what might its role be in your life?
Hmm. Think the yeah, but part could be the part that allows me to have discernment on the right things to do when they show up. That would be the healthy version. Like when opportunities show up and I feel like I'm being led, there'd be a discernment that would allow me to say, how does that fit with what I'm doing? How is that based on my purpose? How does that use my gifts and talents? Like there's a little bit of a qualifying. That would be a healthy version of that to
Okay,
think
and
through.
what's
So
the
not to be
unhealthy
impulsive.
version of it?
The unhealthy version is to say, yeah, but what else is needed? What do I need to go create? What's somebody else doing? Maybe that's not going to be good enough. The critical side of it
Okay,
is the
perfect.
unhealthy side. That'd be the two sides of the shoulders, right? The nice, healthy filter. And then the other side saying, yeah, but you need more of this. And what about other people in comparison?
Okay. So you mentioned comparison multiple times. So is this about I'm not doing enough in comparison to other people, or I'm not doing enough, period, because I don't believe the results that I've gotten?
This would actually have to do with what I call a lying belief that I created years ago that I'm not good enough. That's the deep, deep, deep rootest
Okay.
belief. There's an I'm not good enough at the root of I need to do more. I need to do other people. It isn't actually proven based on my results that I need to do any of those things. It's this old story of I'm not good enough that I've been working out of through all the different coaching that really is driving that need to take on more, need to prove, need to do versus be. That's just
Right.
that old story.
So it's because I'm not good enough that, well, I can't, like, I clearly can't be doing enough in order to get these results and next result. So there has to be like more because I'm
Yes,
not enough in
that's
this.
right. And when I'm doing less, the results are better. So it's not about me anyway. So then that doesn't feed the I'm good enough. That feeds like I'm doing less. Even though the results are good, it isn't directly what I'm doing all the time. But because I have a belief or had a belief I'm not good enough, there's got to be something I can actually do that correlates to the results.
Got it. So that sense of I'm not good enough, like you're obviously aware of it. So what part of you resists letting go of that?
I think what happens is I'm not a, I, there's no part of me that resists letting go of it. I think it sneaks into the program sometimes when I'm unaware of it. So when I go to do something, there's a motivation underneath, and I have to really be conscious. Am I doing this because this is just me showing up at my best and highest self? Or am I doing this to prove that I'm good enough? That's the real time like reflection I need to go into when I do anything because the actions look the same. They look
Sure.
exactly the same on the outside. It's the motivation and me becoming more and when things start to happen more effortlessly, I'm not conscious of what's driving it. And so that's where that loop of improving kind of starts to sneak in because it's effortless. I'm not thinking about doing it.
Right. And I guess here's what I would whatever you want to call it, challenge or reflect it back. Like if there's no issue in letting go of it, then if you did let go of it, how would it sneak back into the programming?
Hmm, that's a good question. The only thing I can think of how it would sneak in is because it's been there so long. Just the long muscle memory. It's still taking. I don't have as much experience not operating that way as operating that way. So it's kind of the complete transformation.
Right. Which I understand like is a good summary of what is going on. But then it still goes back to this whole thing of, okay, so which part of you resists letting it go?
Yeah. Um, hmm. I think it's the unconscious part that resists letting it go because consciously when I'm aware, make choices to let it go. I think
A
there's
hundred percent. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
there's
for sure. If this was a conscious decision, neither of us would have a job because people would just do the thing that they knew how to do. Um,
yeah,
so if you're tuning into that question, right? Because like subconsciously, that there's clearly a part of you that finds some advantage in attaching to and not letting go of I'm not good enough.
yes.
So if you tune in, like if you just take a moment and like really tune in, how might that be serving you subconsciously?
Mm, mm. So here's what came to me. One of the positive things about the I'm not good enough belief was it caused me to really like dig down, come up with my best, like feel fully alive. As crazy as it sounds, in the stress and overwhelm, there's an alive part of it. There's actually too much stress that comes along with our anxiety, but there's an alive part. As things have gotten more effortless, there's less of that igniting of something exciting to go after because it's happening so smoothly. And one of the things I discovered recently is that in order for me to feel most alive and create at my best and highest, I need a little bit of that tension and challenge. Like I like that. That came from the overwhelm and stress in my whole life. So it was there. It was just hidden around all the other stuff. Now that I've kind of taken that out, missing the piece of that that's the healthy version of the spark plug. I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm recognizing.
So with that, because that's a really important piece, right? So like it took a few prompts to kind of get to those layers, but when you're there, like that's a pretty critical piece, right? It makes me feel fully alive. It's the spark club and it makes me feel like excited. It makes me feel alive.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard consciously and especially subconsciously to give up something that is actually making you feel alive. So that there's a tremendous baggage to like not letting it go. Okay.
Yes.
So like that's number one. And it's very easy and very seductive to get you spinning your wheels around, well, like this, and like I could do it this way. And if I just tune into my higher self, and I like that's all true, but that's the
Right.
50% that gets excited by the ease. But the
Yes.
other 50% is like, you're asking me to give up on the thing that's made us feel alive, that's consistently produced some sort of results in our life, and to just let that go for what? Like there's just kind of like there's a void there. Okay, so before I go on,
Absolutely.
what lands for you with that? What doesn't?
No, you're exactly right. Taking out that element of the spark that has been part of um, allowing for the creativity to do all the things I've done, like that is a key component in the creativity. This effortless being asleep, everything happens, doesn't have that same inertia of creativity. And everything I've done since leaving corporate was to take out those elements and create this life. And then I'm at this point of recognizing the results are great, but I'm missing that fully alive feeling. And if I could have great results but not feel fully alive, that's not success.
Yeah, and I think that that's a desire that you want to move towards, and then this is the biggest hurdle that's present for you right now, at least from this conversation. And the other part that I was gonna kind of just reflect back to you in terms of like an analogy, like people do this in relationships all the time. Like we all know that person that's kind of like in perpetually drama-filled relationships,
Yep,
like crazy ups, low downs, like just drama, like Jerry Springer Central. And yet, as soon as they get to a partner that's like stable and secure, they're like, oh, this person's boring. I don't know if they're really that into me. Like that they're literally not doing anything bad, that they're just
that's
literally
right.
giving you all the things you've talked about. But what's missing, what's missing is that addiction to the high lows, the high highs, or the low lows, the high highs that
Right.
come from basically the addiction to the anxiety, the chaos, etc. That's usually stems on, and I'm assuming here, but like upbringings that were tend to be more tumultuous than calm, right? Like you just get more associated with like this is comfort zone, even though I don't really want it. So again, what lands for you with that? What doesn't?
Yeah, what's interesting, so my father was in the military, and so we moved every 3 years. So it wasn't so much that it was tumultuous, but it was constantly changing, never
Yeah.
constant. So I was constantly fitting in different countries, different states, different cultures, different everything. And so that idea of coming in and that challenge of figuring it out, getting creative. How do I fit in here? What works there versus belonging? But today I'm more about belonging versus fitting in. But there's something I enjoy about the fitting in. There's something that's that alive, watching people, seeing where my things can match up. And like there's something in that that's healthy. Obviously, at some point there was overwhelm and stress by created by work and all that to the extreme. There's a piece of that that I really enjoy and I thrive on figuring it out and to your point, once I figure it out, I kind of move on to the next thing because now I'm maybe bored.
Yeah. So definitely the perpetual change, like that's always going to be novelty and excitement. So I can see how that could also feed it. The other thing that I think is interesting in what you just shared is when we initially started talking, like I had mentioned, okay, like you keep repeating comparison again and again. Like these other coaches are writing books, these other people are doing X, Y, and Z, but like I'm not, and this is easy. If your upbringing was one that reinforced this skill and need to continuously fit in, you doing the opposite of your tribe right now, in that I'm operating in ease, I'm doing like half the things that everybody else is doing, and I'm getting greater results. That is also a subconscious fear of like ostracization. Like I am
Yes,
now outside of the tribe of people that I'm trying to be like, and that, in addition to, well, I'm also feeling fully alive when I can figure that out and do the thing and go through the ups and downs. Like, those are two very major hurdles towards
yes,
letting go of, well, I'm not actually good enough to just be as I am. So, what lands for
yes.
you there?
Yeah, so instead of either or, right? What I think the tension I'm wrestling with is yes and. Yes, I'm showing up as myself. Yes, I'm slowing down to speed up. Yes, and there can be that excitement and energy to create. It has nothing to do with anybody else. I stay in that. Versus today, it's I'm doing all of me. But it's kind of you don't have that nice shock, that nice thing, and then the comparison starts to bring it in, but it goes back down that unhealthy track. It's like there's a piece of that energy that's works, but a part of it that just brings me back down the performance and proving track.
Yeah,
And so being able
which
to sift
is
that out and get to the right piece and continue doing what I'm doing that works for me would be the best option.
correct, which is basically reconciling the two sides. And from my vantage point right now, like reconciling just means actually letting go of all of these sub aspects of I'm not good enough, right? Like the
Yes,
fact that that's what makes me feel alive, the fact that that's what, like, proving that is what makes me fit in. Let go of those, and then the kind of core one of I'm not good enough. If you can let go of that, the rest takes care of itself.
exactly. And I think when I heard you say that, what just came to me is that spark, that igniting from the proving, again, that's when I feel alive. But it was for a belief that's not true. But I threw the baby out with the bathwater. Like the whole thing went out, right? And now it's easy, it's effortless, it's good results, things are happening, no spark. And I recognize that I want to have that because that's where I create, get excited, still towards being myself and not, trying to be like others. But that element is an essential element, I think, is what I'm recognizing.
Yeah, and I think the question here for you is not how do I live without the spark, but how do I like live from the spark that's not operating from my wounding of I'm not good enough, but it's operating
Yes.
from kind of like the inspiration of I just want to create. Right? Like it's again, same action, like you said, but it could be a totally different intention.
That is the change of the scenario because inspire is one of my four words. And I love the idea of being inspired by everything I see, inspiring others. And so letting that spark, I like the way you said, letting the spark come from the inspiration versus the comparison. Because the comparison was a place for the spark. Oh my gosh, they're doing that. I need to work on this better. Some part of that I enjoy, but still getting it from the inspiration towards what I want to create, not the comparison. I think that is the shift.
Yeah, because the intention for the way this has been operating by default is it's coming from the wounding. Like
It
I need
is.
to be where they are at so that I can fit in and kind of keep repeating the patterns from my childhood and like continue
Yes.
to use my gift to fill this hole in my soul. But when you let go of the fact that I have a hole in my soul, now it's like, okay, well, what opens up is this new possibility to, like you said, create from inspiration. And I think
Yeah.
that's where ultimately letting go of this I'm not good enough will lead you towards being able to create from that space.
You know what's funny is I'm sitting here in my home office and I have a word written here early this year that said two words: inspired creativity. I
There you
wrote
go.
that like 6 months ago because that's something that came in. That's exactly create from the inspired place, not from the comparison place.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that desire is continuing to bloom. I think this conversation is just clearing up. Okay, well, what are still the pieces that you aren't letting go of that are creating friction in that process?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Wow.
Okay. Well, I think we came to the the root a lot quicker than we normally do in these. So
Yeah. It tied out a lot of pieces that even had been planted before. But when you said, and the key was this, when you said create less from the comparison and the fitting in and create from the inspiration that's within, that is a yes and yes.
good. Awesome. Well,
That's
it,
it.
if that is enough for you, like it is enough for me. So I just want to make sure, like, does this feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding? Because I don't
No,
want
I
we
feel
got
I
plenty of time
feel
left, but it's up to you. You know what I mean?
I feel complete because I've worked on this specific topic with my coach over 2 sessions, and we've gotten to pieces that I shared today. But you just tied that together when with that idea of let that spark come from inspiration, not comparison. And then like that helps complete letting go of that old story.
Beautiful. Well, in that case, I'm very happy to see that that is kind of the missing piece that was the glue and the bridge for that. So yeah, in that case, if you want to just close us off and let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you, floor is yours for that.
Yeah. The best place to find me is at onpurpose-life.com is my website. My email is james@onpurpose-life.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as James F. Madison. And the person that I work with that excites me, because I only work with people that really excite me. Back to the spark thing, right? The ones that inspire me are the ones I work with. Successful, um, struggling maybe with balancing the internal aspects of their life with success, kind of very successful, but maybe dying inside, just like I was. And wanting to get out of their own way, knowing that they're meant for more, but just not knowing how to get out of their own way. That's the challenge that inspires me. That is me to another level here today. That's why I enjoy doing that and seeing people get set free to create their wildest dreams.
Love it. Well, in that case, as always, we'll include that in the show notes. James, yeah, thank you very much for being on. And I know it's always funner to be on this side than it is on the receiving side, but I think you did it
Right, right.
beautifully. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.